Welcome to the Business of Thinking podcast. This is the place for high achievers who want more than motivation. They want mastery. Here we skip the surface level talk and go straight into the psychology of high performance.
Hello and welcome to the Business of Thinking. My name is Richard Reid and today I'm delighted to be joined by Penny Mallory. And as you'll soon find out, Penny wears many hats and has lived many different lives over the years. She's been a rally driver, she's been a boxer, she's a keynote presenter, amongst other things. But I'll let Penny say more about that in due course. Penny, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Brilliant to have you here. What I often do with guests to start things off is get them to talk a little bit about their formative years, sort of key things that have informed the person they've become. And I know you've got a very interesting background. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. What I'm discovering is it's not unusual. There's so many people that had a start like I did, which was really on the outside. I looked like I was having a really good life, privileged life in a pretty little Kentish village in a nice house with a nice car. But, you know, it's not all as it seems sometimes. Behind the front door, life was very different in that house to how people would have seen it. So I was quite scared of my dad, although I thought he was my hero. I didn't get on with my brother, and my mum was an alcoholic and a manic depressive, like really bad, severe manic depressive. So swinging from sort of suicidal lows to euphoric, crazy highs, which was horrendous. And it happened all the way through my childhood. And that I'm now spending a lot of my growing up years reflecting on all that situation and the stuff that happened around it. There was other weird stuff going on as well. That's formed me. And the way I respond to situations, it's had a massive impact on my life. And actually, you know, when you're in something horrible, it's just the worst. But I can now look back and be really grateful for it, because I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for all that stuff.
Yeah. And I know a little bit about your backstory. You talk about sort of hitting rock bottom and how that was almost the starting point for turning things around. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I left home at 14. There's no need to go into the detail of it, but I couldn't live with my mum. It was just awful. So I left at 14. I never went back ever. Ended up in homeless hostels in London, which was on the whole horrible, but with some really good moments. I'd carried with me a dream of driving rally cars since I was probably 6 or 7.
Yeah.
It was never, ever, ever going to happen because I had no money. I was destitute. And I guess there was always a bit in me that wanted to achieve something, but I knew that it was not possible because I had nothing. But I guess it does sometimes take hitting rock bottom to bounce you back in another way. So I'm very grateful I got to my lowest point where I was going to make a very silly decision that day and chose to get myself off to a rally school instead and just delay the stupid decision. And those few hours at a rally school changed the entire course of my life. And I managed to drive rally cars for the next 12 years.
Brilliant, fantastic. And what was it that prompted you to take that path in the road rather than the other one? There must be something sort of innate within you or some kind of insight that said, right, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this.
I think for some people, when they're in the depths of despair, when there's no hope, no optimism, no sign of anything, sort of the easy way out is to really just sort of disappear off the mortal coil. And despite a couple of attempts at doing that, probably more attention seeking than anything else, I'm stubborn. I don't want to be proven wrong. And I had inside me probably an innate sort of got to get on top of stuff, got to be in charge, got to get some control over this because of where I'd come from. So I knew that this desire to drive rally cars had been haunting me since I was a little girl. And I knew that I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't just go and have a go. And that's all I went to the rally school literally to just have a go and to tick the box. And of course, it took over the next 12 years of my life. And I'm so glad it did.
Yeah. And I know there's something you talk about this on your website, but just in what you've said there's something about purpose, isn't there? That purpose has a big bearing upon what we do with adversity.
Massively. I think And of course, I didn't know any of this stuff at the time.
Yeah.
It's only in my grown-up years I've worked this stuff out. But having a reason to keep going, a mission, a purpose, a reason, whatever you want to call it, it changes everything. Because my mental toughness developed because my purpose was so clear. And I now can see my purpose was that I needed to become a rally champion to make my dad proud, who had disowned me 20 years previously. And I thought, if I can do something amazing, I could make him proud. And I was so devastated that he had written me off and didn't want anything to do with me. I would do whatever it took in the whole world to get his attention. So that's what drove me. That was my purpose. And I didn't know it until later in life, but it's so clear to me now what was going on.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you say to other people who are sort of grappling with finding their purpose? It sounds like yours presented itself, but what could other people do to maybe discover what that is?
I'm probably no different to everyone. You know, your background, your experience, your environment forms you and builds your character and your personality. So even if you haven't become consciously aware of what's important to you and why you're existing, it's probably in there somewhere. You just haven't defined it or sort of uncovered it. But I think people could do themselves a great service by just taking a day off and reflecting on, what the hell is this all about? Why am I here? What matters to me? When the going gets really tough, what am I going to cling to get out of this? That stuff has got to be worth a good old reflection, walking the dog, in the shower. Because I think when you can work that out, and for most people, it will boil down to family.
Yeah.
It's really, you could strip everything away from everyone. Family and health, you have absolutely nothing if you don't have your health. And anyone that's poorly right now will be nodding furiously. And without friends and family, life feels a bit pointless as well. So I think for most people, it will come down to those two things.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought what was interesting there when you were explaining that was you mentioned the word reflection a few times. I think you think about the world in which we operate, most of the time we don't do that. Even when we're walking the dog or any of those sort of things, we're multitasking in our heads, aren't we? You know, listening to podcasts or whatever else it might be.
Yeah, I think it's very true. And I'm not. I used to spend an awful lot of time in the past sort of looking in that rearview mirror. I don't do it so much now because it's gone. It's done. Get over it. Looking forward is very healthy. But a reflection on where you've come from, what it's all about, absolutely worth having. But I wouldn't suggest you live in the past. It's pointless. It's gone.
So it's really taking the learnings and insights from that and then moving forward.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you became a rally driver, but that's not the only thing that you've done over the years. Tell us a little bit about your trajectory from there.
Well, I think once you've been in that high adrenaline, crazy, adventurous world, it's really hard to live a normal life. It's so extreme, so exciting, so utterly fantastic that when it ends, your life completely falls apart.
Okay.
And you have to replace it with something. So for me, it was running marathons, doing triathlons, climbing mountains, like the big ones, boxing, and now I'm training to row the Atlantic. So it's just that sort of chase of, I think probably, if I'm honest, trying to prove to myself that I can do stuff. I'm not very good at a lot of it, but I'm very happy to sort of, I don't mind failing. It doesn't bother me one bit because I know I'm going to learn from something. So I just like having a go. I like being brave. I like proving to myself that I'm an okay person. And it's like, really, I'm being honest here. And I quite like the proving people wrong thing. Makes me feel good about myself. I mean, it's all a bit pathetic, really, but I don't mind putting myself out there and failing. And because I like the adrenaline. I really, really like the adrenaline.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's apparent. We'll come on to some of the things that you've got in the offing very shortly. But that idea about not being worried about failing, that you mentioned that a few times. You mentioned when you went to the rally school for the day about just giving things a try. And that seems quite important in terms of resilience. A lot of people avoid things they're not good at or they think they're going to fail at.
That's so true. And I don't think I was consciously aware that I was just going to have a go and sort of, I didn't know having a go at stuff was a thing back then. But actually, you're quite right. I've done ice skating, and I'll have a go at anything. I just love it.
Yeah.
Bit of rock climbing or whatever it is. I just love learning new stuff, and I think it's really good for your brain. Obviously, really good for your body. Now I've forgotten your question. What did you ask me?
So this idea of trying things out and not being worried about failing.
There's no real people say this, it's a cliche, but there's no real concept in my mind of failing, because I'll try something and I'll learn something.
Yeah.
The failure thing is just it's never really a word that I've embraced. So I just don't mind learning. I don't mind if it doesn't go my way, because I definitely am going to learn something either about myself or the world, or, something useful will come out of it.
Yeah, and it makes me think very much of sort of the work of Carol Dweck, sort of the growth mindset, that everything is feedback rather than failure.
Exactly. And so what's not to love?
Yeah. Fantastic. So how do you turn that around so quickly? So I guess a lot of people, when they do try things that are outside the comfort zone and it doesn't go according to plan, they beat themselves up and they then withdraw. What are the kind of messages that you give to yourself that mean that you don't go down that path?
Well, trust me, I've done that many, many times. I've lived that path for decades.
Yeah.
Until, I've got my failed marriages under my belt, and those things make you really stop and think about life.
Yeah.
Those hit me hard. Those are things I don't deal with very well. But after a few of those, you think, okay, I need to find a new strategy to cope with stuff and a new approach. And it's just simply about accepting that some things don't work out. That's fine. There's no point in hanging on to something that isn't serving you well.
Yeah.
Learning to just step over the line and go, it's fine. It happens, and I'm really sorry about that, but there's another life ahead of me. So I just learnt through the brutal strikes that life chucks at you that that's probably just a better way to manage it, because I could crumble and curl up in a corner for the rest of my life quite easily, and lots of people do, because it's a way to deal with it. But I like life too much. I just absolutely love the privilege of being here. There's just too much to love and enjoy, so I don't want to go anywhere.
Fantastic. That's good to know. And stay here for a little bit longer on this podcast as well. So I want to ask you some more questions. One of the other things you mentioned on your website, and I'm probably going to butcher this now, so I apologize in advance, but you talk about excellence. You talk about excellence as essentially being about some of it about repetition, doing the things that people don't like doing, and refining it. Do you want to share a little bit with the audience around your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I've been accused of being a perfectionist many times in my life, and I've always pushed back on it because I don't think I am. And I did quite a lot of research and therapy into it, actually. And it turns out I'm not a perfectionist at all. I just like high standards. I like things done well, and I don't think there's much wrong with that. So excellence would be, for some people, excellence would be getting out of bed at 10 a.m. That would be a good day. So this is all relative.
Yeah.
I like the idea of improving myself. I like the idea of doing things better, pushing myself. I quite like that because it pleases me, gives me a sense of satisfaction.
So you're sort of competing with yourself in a way.
Sort of, yeah. And I guess that's, again, it's just years of stuff that I've experienced. But when you research high performance and you understand how really true elite performers work, most of their life is incredibly dull. It's repeating mundane stuff over and over and over until it becomes really natural. And then they up the game a bit and they repeat. And it's really boring. Being an Olympian or an elite performer is boring most of the time. So you have to have that acceptance that it's not all going to be fun and exciting. There are just the drudgery, the boring stuff is really what embeds the right attitude, the right to perform, the right to exist at that higher level. I think, and it's difficult, this day and age with social media and, talent competitions and stuff, people just want it all now.
Instant gratification,
before they've done the hard yards. And I'm old school, hard yards are really important. And the people that don't do the hard yards probably fall over pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have that, and it's boring cliche words, but that foundation to keep you rock steady when things don't go to plan.
Yeah. And I guess that's probably, I imagine, where having a higher purpose, higher goals really important, because then you can see the value in going through that drudgery and that difficulty.
if you've constantly got a reminder of why you're doing this,
Yeah.
boring, drudgery, mundane stuff, if you're constantly being reminded, it's much easier to keep going.
Yeah.
If you've got that reason underlying everything, you can lean on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you tap into that? Is that something that just is there, or is it something you consciously remind yourself of?
Yeah, I consciously remind myself of it now because it's changed. When my dad died, I had that purpose disappeared. I didn't have anyone to impress anymore except myself. And yeah, and it does happen. People's purpose changes through a lifetime because everything changes. Nothing stays the same. So yeah, I'm constantly reminding myself of why I'm here, what matters to me, where my time should be best spent. I'm very conscious of that because I'm determined to live to a great age and stay fit and healthy and active. And I do gym 2 hours every day of the week. And I am committed to living a long life. And I've just had my first grandchild. And I want to be at her wedding, and I want to see her babies born. You know, I don't want to go anywhere.
Good. And talking of keeping active, after you did the rally drive, it sounds like you went into boxing for a little while as well. That sounds like quite a shift.
Well, I can tell you, I have now the deepest respect for anyone that steps into the ring at whatever level. It is the most terrifying thing on the earth to step into the ring knowing somebody wants to punch you to death, because you have to have that kind of killer instinct. And one thing I didn't know, and nobody thought to mention it to me, when you step in through the ropes into the ring, you enter a parallel universe of time. So when I'm told I'm fighting 3 2-minute rounds, which is nothing, it's 3 2-hour rounds when you get in there because the bell never flipping rings. It is the hardest 2 minutes of your life that just goes on forever.
Yeah.
And to fight, to be hit and to defend and to fight is exhausting. I mean, like, drains you.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, but it's the biggest buzz I think I've ever had in my life when the bell rings at the end of the fight and you've survived it and maybe even, done pretty well. It is, I don't think there's anything to compare to that. Yeah. But yeah, that's me putting the most literal form of putting myself in the fight, seeing how I could fare in the toughest of situations. So, yeah, it was terrifying. And I did it once and I thought never again. And then I did it again. And I put Monica Galetti from MasterChef, and she was of Maori descent. So she got into the ring doing the haka.
Wow. Yeah, okay. That's intimidating itself. Yeah.
What am I doing in here? But it was amazing. Both fights were unbelievable. Yeah. I don't think I would dare do it again, though.
And you mentioned the fear a few times. I can totally understand how that would be frightening. I guess a lot of people allow the fear to dictate whether they go through something. How do you manage your fear?
I think I have quite a good conversation with myself. Like I did a really big event yesterday. I was speaking at a conference, and it's one of the most fantastic ones I've ever done. But my nerves before are just off the scale. But I'm just telling myself, you need these nerves to perform. Without these nerves, you'd be in trouble. Enjoy it. Yeah. I'm just coaching myself to use the nerves that I'm feeling for performance. So I think that's probably what I'm doing when I'm doing any of that sporting stuff. And, climbing mountains is the most boring, dull thing I've ever done in my life. But it's quite scary because you think you're going to die every day. And you just remember it's just one foot in front of the other. It's just little things I tell myself.
So breaking it down into smaller parts.
Yeah, exactly. My daughter just ran a marathon, bless her. Never thought that would ever happen. And she just said at the end, I just kept telling myself to put one foot in front of the other and you'll get to the end. I'm like, oh, I recognise that. It's true. And this storm too shall pass. For anyone listening that's having a terrible time right now, just keep putting one foot in front of the other because that storm will pass. Things will change. I had an email arrive in my inbox this morning from somebody in the audience yesterday saying they're just having the most terrible, terrible time. And what they heard yesterday was just what they needed. And I just emailed him back saying, it's okay. This horrible time will pass. And it's worth also all reminding each other that when you're in it, it's terrible, but it will end.
Yeah, and it's so important to remember that, isn't it? Because we often lose sight of that in that moment. And also we tend to... Hard. Yeah, and we tend to group lots of things together, don't we? We think about the longer term, what we imagine it was going to be. We bring every factor into play, and it's no wonder that we feel overwhelmed when that happens.
Yeah, we're all masterful at beating ourselves up and seeing the negative side of things. But I think I've just spent so many years just flipping it, that it's now done it so much, repeating it, mundane repetition. It's what I do every day. So something horrible happens, and my mental response to a situation could easily be really negative, and I just try and flip it every time. And it really does change the way you operate and what happens in your life.
Yeah. And does that become more instinctive for you as time goes on?
Yeah, I think it's completely instinctive now.
So it's the rehearsal.
Everyone around me would remind me to do it anyway if I didn't, because I've been banging on about it for so many years. But yeah, it is utterly instinctive now.
Fantastic. One question on that. So I had a previous guest on. We were talking about this idea of resilience, and I guess that's what we're talking about here. And we were trying to look at the balance between being resilient and potentially being too resilient. In other words, not listening to the warning signs that might be telling you it's too much. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, everyone has a different definition of what resilience might mean. And resilience and mental toughness are similar, but they're not the same. And to really, really oversimplify it, I would say resilience is when you have to bounce back because you have to. And mental toughness would be bounce back because you want to and you're enjoying the process. That might be oversimplifying it, but that's how I view it. So resilience is something we all need because shit happens and we have to deal with it, whether we want to
happening,
or not.
whether you choose it or not. Yeah.
Mental toughness would be saying, this horrible thing's happened. Now I'm going to flip it, see what's good about the problem, and I'm going to bounce back because I can see that this is going to help me grow. I'm going to learn stuff from this. It's a really subtle shift in thinking, but very powerfully different, if you get me.
So there's a degree of intentionality about it.
Yeah, exactly. And sort of what you were talking about, sort of pushing through and it not paying back in a good way. It's true, people will just keep on relentlessly push through the grind because they have to, and that might not be good for people. I have to generalize because I don't know, every specific situation would perhaps have a different conversation. But on the whole, yeah, I'm sure there's an awful lot of people out there who are just pushing through the grind, and it is not serving them well at all.
Yeah.
And it can be very difficult to sort of stop yourself. And if that's become a habit, which it will for some, you just keep on going. They're going to be missing out on a lot because they're just stuck in that cycle of just pushing on.
Yeah. And I guess, as you say, some of that you may not have any choice about. But I guess I guess going back to what you said before, maybe there's an opportunity there for reflection as well. How could I be doing this differently? What is the impact that this is having on me?
Yeah. And am I grinding on because I want to or because I have to? And is there a way that I could stop grinding on because I have to? Could I shift it into because I want to?
Yeah.
Or if I don't want to, could I get out of this grinding? And how is it serving me? Do I have headaches? Have I got shoulder pain? Can I walk properly? Can I get out of it? Is it physically? Because every situation will have a physical impact. Yeah. Is it ruining my life physically?
Yeah. And I see that quite a lot. Yeah, I see that quite a lot with my therapy clients, for example, that the body shouts louder when you don't listen.
Big time. And when your body does shout, it's probably too late, wouldn't it?
You've missed the optimum time to address it. Yeah.
So I'm in prevention mode all the time because I don't want to be physically unable to do anything I want to do.
Yeah.
I know it'll happen at some point, but I'm going to prevent it as long as I can.
Put it off as long as you can. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's not going to happen anytime soon because you've got something quite exciting you're doing in just over 12 months' time. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Literally this time next year, I will be, and this is 7 years of a dream that I've wanted to row the Atlantic Ocean. Not because I love the ocean or love rowing. I'm not keen on water and I actually don't like rowing.
Okay.
But because it just felt like the most amazing adventure. So you get into a teeny weeny boat with dried food and a bucket for a loo and you row 3,000 miles to Antigua.
Wow.
And for some people, that's an idea of hell. For me, I just thought, that sounds quite cool. It's sort of like living on a desert island, and we all have that little daydream every so often. Could you do it? Would it be fun? Sort of on a very slowly moving desert island. I'm going to find out what I'm really like under intense pressure for an extended period of time. I'm doing it with my best friend. That will challenge our friendship.
Yeah.
And 2 other chaps. It's a mixed boat. Physically, mentally is meant to be the hardest thing we'll ever do. But something about that appeals. But, there's a chance we'll capsize. There's a chance we'll get struck by a marlin. Their big noses poke through the boat. There's lots of things that, you could hit a cargo ship. It's really unusual that stuff happens, but it can happen.
Okay, hopefully not.
So, yeah, I think it's a little bit of me, just my final hurrah to testing myself on a massive adventure. And we've got a year to get it together.
Yeah.
And there's an awful lot of prep and training.
I'm sure.
You wouldn't imagine. It's really hard. They say the hardest thing is getting to the start line. And it's proving to be exactly that. It's really challenging.
Yeah. And what's the training like for that? How do you do the physical training for that?
Oh, well, I'm in the gym every day. So you're effectively deadlifting your way across the Atlantic, somebody said. So that posterior chain, so lots of deadlifts, lots of rowing on the erg, which is extremely boring. So just lots of things that build endurance and strength. But that's physical training off the boat. And then on the boat, that's the biggest challenge, because we can't take our boat out in wind more than 10 miles and 10 knots. We can't get 4 people in the same place at the same time with the right weather. It's just impossibly hard to get on the boat and to put the hours in. And you have to have a certain amount of mandatory hours in the bag before you're allowed to race. So we've got a year and a plan, and that plan will have to shift and change a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah. So flexibility was going to play a big part in it, I imagine. Yeah. So how long are you envisaging this will take to get across the Atlantic?
If we were really lucky, 40 days. If we were slow, 50 days. So somewhere like that.
Okay.
Hopefully end of January we'll be in Antigua.
And that will be quite a party.
I don't even let myself think about the end point, because that will just be amazing. It's one of those classic day at a time things.
Yeah.
I literally can't do anything to change the weather. If something breaks on the boat, we just have to stay calm and fix it. And there's lots of things that can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the perfect way for me to practice what I preach, and just take it a couple of hours at a time even, because the wind and weather and everything will change. So I don't know how good I'm going to be at that. We'll find out. But I'm doing a lot of thinking and visualization, and I've got a year. I think we'll get our heads around it. But, who knows what the ocean will throw at us that we haven't thought about and haven't prepared for.
Yeah. So there's quite a lot in this, I guess, about controlling the bits you can control and just trusting in the process.
Massively. You just sit there and row, and that's all you do. Just sit there and row and keep rowing, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it till you get there.
Wow. Definitely love to have you back on the show to hear how you've got on with that in a year or so time.
Let's do that, because there'll be a whole ton of stuff that I'm going to learn that I didn't even expect to learn, and some experiences I'll probably have that I just hadn't banked on at all. And they say it changes you. So I'd love to come on and tell you how I think it might have changed me.
I'd love to hear that for sure, and I'm sure the audience at home would as well.
And I'll be 60 when I'm doing it, so I'll be the oldest on the boat by a long shot, and I'm chuffed that I'm able to do it.
That's brilliant.
60.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are sort of slowing down at that time, but not you.
No, I can't do that yet.
Fantastic. I've got the feeling there's a lot of more chapters to be written in this story yet.
Well, we'll see. I'm literally not planning anything past this, because it's too big.
Yeah.
It's too big. So when I'm back, I'll think again. But at the moment, I'm hoping, next year will be a year of training and speaking at conferences. That's all I'm planning for next year.
Yeah, and you'll have plenty to talk about. Penny, it's been riveting. Thank you so much for your time today. People want to find out more about you. Where can they go?
Oh, just put my name into Google and it'll send you to my website. There's loads of stuff on YouTube. There's stuff everywhere. Just put my name in and stuff will pop up.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
My pleasure.
This is the business of thinking. Mastery doesn't end here. See you in the next episode.